In general, a drought is an extreme event characterized by a prolonged period of anomaly low levels of precipitation that has adverse impacts on vegetation, animals, and people. A drought is a temporary phenomenon, and as such it is distinct from aridity, which is a climatic feature of a particular region. Droughts occur periodically in every climatic zone, although some areas are more drought-prone than others.
What causes a drought? There are four basic types of droughts, which are meteorological, agricultural, hydrological, and socio-economic. Each one of them has its own causes. A meteorological drought is defined usually on the basis of the degree of dryness, in comparison to some normal or average amount, and the duration of the dry period. Definitions of meteorological drought must be considered as region-specific, since the atmospheric conditions that result in deficiencies of precipitation are highly variable from region to region. An agricultural drought links various characteristics of meteorological or hydrological drought to agricultural impacts, focusing on precipitation shortages, differences between actual and potential evapotranspiration, soil water deficits, reduced groundwater or reservoir levels. Plant water demand depends on prevailing weather conditions, biological characteristics of specific plant, its stage of growth, and the physical and biological properties of the soil. A hydrological drought is associated with effects of periods of precipitation, shortfalls on surface or subsurface water supply. For example, stream flow, reservoir and lake levels, groundwater, etc. The frequency and severity of hydrological drought is often defined on a watershed or river basin scale. Although all droughts originate with a deficiency of precipitation, hydrologists are more concerned with how of this deficiency plays out through the hydrologic system. Hydrological droughts are usually out of phase with or lack the occurrence of meteorological and agricultural droughts.
In California, there has been a terrible drought. These shocking images show us the contrast between after and before the drought.
California is living through some of its driest years in a century.
We need water! We need water! We need water!
As we can see, this problem have been affected the population of California. Now let's see where this problem began and how it evolves during the years. We can see in the graphic that the problem starts in 2011. Let's see what happened before this date. Now we can see that the drought area rises impressively in 2011.
A lot of people that live in the city that turn their faucet on and water their yard every other day don't even realize how bad this drought is because they don't see it.
The climate in California is extreme. The temperatures are very high and there are a few wet days.
From December 2011 to March 2017, California experienced one of the worst droughts to occur in the region in history. Between 2011 and 2014, the driest period took place in California. According to the U.S. Forest Service, 102 million trees died in total due to the drought from 2011 to 2016, with 62 million dead in 2016 only. Streams and rivers were so low that fish couldn't get to their spawning grounds, and survival rates of any eggs that were laid were expected to be low. Lack of rainfall had caused rivers to be blocked off by sandbars, which further prevented fish from reaching their spawning grounds. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife said that 95% of winter-run salmon didn't survive in 2013. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife closed dozens of streams and rivers to fishing in 2014. Protesters claimed that banning fishing disrupted the economy and threatened the lifestyle of individuals that depend on shortened snowmelt seasons in many snow-dominated areas of California. By January 17, 2014, California State Governor Jerry Brown declared a drought state of emergency. On May 2014, the U.S. Drought Monitor analysis showed that 100% of California was already under severe drought, causing to be considered first the worst drought in 1,200 years. The published report of 2014 by the NOAA Drought Task Force stated that the drought was not part of a long-term change in precipitation. It was an effect of natural variability. Also, the record high temperature that accompanied the drought was amplified due to human-induced global warming. Lack of rain and temperatures triggered more and more wildfires. In November 2015, wildfires swept through Simi Valley, located in the north of Los Angeles County. Other parts of California were hit as hard as well in August of 2015. More wildfires and hot days lower air quality. This is attributed to smog, which is created when pollutants like the emitted by motor vehicles or wildfires interact with heat and sunlight. A 2015 report from the American Lung Association found that years of drought deteriorated air quality in California, with Los Angeles hitting the smoggiest levels in the state.
As it was said, in May of 2015, a state resident poll conducted by Phil Poll found that 2 out of the 3 respondents agreed that it should be mandated for water agencies to reduce water consumption by 25% as a possible potential solution. During this year, authorities in politics and in organizations related to environmental issues had the prediction of El Niño to bring rains to California, raise hopes of ending the drought. During the spring of that year, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration declared and put the probability of the presence of El Niño conditions until the end of 2015 at 80%. Despite of these predictions, drought conditions that had worsened and above average ocean temperatures had not resulted in large storms. Against this problematic, the drought led to the Governor Jerry Brown's instituting mandatory 25% water restrictions in June of 2015. In response to conditions, California has tightened fishing restrictions in many areas of the state. Streams and rivers on the north coast have unprecedented amounts of fishing bans. In the year of 2016, many millions of California trees died from the drought, approximately 102 million, including 62 million in 2016 alone. By the end of the year, 30% of California had emerged from the drought, mainly in the northern half of the state, while 40% of the state remained in the extreme or exceptional drought levels. In the year 2017, specifically in the month of January, heavy rains were expected to have a significant benefit to the state's northern water reserves, despite widespread power outage and erosional damage in the wake of the deluge. Since then, a very large percentage of the drought has been eliminated in California due to a persistent weather pattern which allowed rounds of storm systems to consistently hammer the state, with the snowpack rising to well above average. On February of 2017, no part of the state was in the next lower category of extreme drought, and over 60% of the state's area was no longer in any level of drought. On April 17 of 2017, the governor of California declared the drought as over.
During times of drought, vegetation is visible dry, stream and rivers flow decline, water levels in lakes and reservoirs fall, and the depth to water in wells increases. One example of the impacts that can cause drought is excessive groundwater pumping and aquifer depletion, causing the aquifer system to compact, which can cause land to sink, permanent loss of groundwater storage in the aquifer system, and infrastructure damage. Groundwater aquifers recover much more slowly than surface water and are limited, among other things, by how much and how fast water can recharge. Excessive long-term groundwater overuse resulting in groundwater depletion can cause subsidence and permanent loss of groundwater storage, as well as water quality gradation and seawater intrusion. This presents a great repercussion of the cities of the state, since this causes a possible erosion in the soil, causing sinking and therefore damage to certain infrastructures. According to the IPCC, 25% of the buildings within 500 feet of United States coastlines are predicted to fall victim to erosion in the next 6 decades. Dry, hot, and windy weather combined with dry vegetation and a spark, either through human intent or lightning, can start a wildfire. Drier than normal conditions can increase the intensity and severity of wildfires. In the aftermath of wildfires such as the 2013 Ring Fire, ash, woody debris, and sediment can flow downstream from burned areas and contaminate water supplies. Flash flooding and mudslides in burned areas can also be damaging and deadly. In the part of agricultural settlements, what is most worrying at the moment to the authorities is the state of the soil, responsible for the consumption of 80% of the water in California. More than 8,000 Californian farms produce crops and livestock worth more than $44 billion in 2012. That source of income was depleted by reducing the amount of water available. Also, in the part of fishing settlements, commercial fishermen were beginning to feel the effects of drought on water use restriction. If salmon cannot spawn in rivers during that drought years due to drought or massive water transfer overboard, fishermen feel the storage in coming seasons. According to the IPCC, across North America, government spending on public infrastructure has been declining for some time, measured as a share of economic activity. Almost 3.5% of GDP has spent on a broad range of infrastructure projects in the early 1960s, compared to less than 2% in the 1990s. Highways, bridges, culverts, residents, commercial structures, schools, hospitals, airports, coastal ports, draining systems, communication cables, transmission lines, and other infrastructure have been built on the basis of historical climate experience. One solution that was implemented against this drought was the California Water Fix and Eco Restore, formerly known as the Bay Delta Conservation Plan. This plan was worth $50 billion, proposed by Governor Jerry Brown and the California Department of Water Resources to build two large, 4-story tall tunnels to carry fresh water from the Sacramento River under the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta toward the intake stations for the State Water Project and the Central Valley Project. The Water Fix project was proposed to address the issues of water system infrastructure in California being unreliable and outdated. This project helped a lot to implement certain parameters to infrastructures. Governor Brown dictated the first state mandatory water-saving measures in California history. The objective was to reduce water consumption by 25%. Some of these measures will continue despite the lifting of the emergency. This is a prohibition in urban areas of practices such as watering after it has rained, irrigation of municipal ornamental plants, or washing sidewalks with hose. As you can see now, we can see the image of the area influenced by the drought in the state of California. There is also a table that explains the percentage of area of the conditions of the drought in different levels, where the time evaluated is from 2016 to October of 2017. In analyzing this image, we can see that the solution implemented by the government of California have been asserted, since we can see a decrease of drought in the part of states. It is also seen that California does not present any drought of any kind, such as exceptional, extreme, or severe, where it presents 77.88% of its territory without droughts, where it is concluded that it increased around 70% compared to the drought that exists in the year 2016.